So good day everyone, my name is Princess Everelle Banaag, and for today's video, me together with my group mates are going to discuss about the commonly cultured species in the Philippines and their production. So, the aquaculture sector in the Philippines has remarkably grown in the last decade. It is now a prominent sector contributing significantly to the country's overall fisheries production. The country has gained significant strides in promoting environment-friendly aquaculture, especially with the promotion of the mariculture park projects. So here are some examples of the aquaculture and mariculture projects in the Philippines. In line with this, policies to promote sustainable aquaculture and strategies to ensure healthy and wholesome aquaculture were formulated. Research, development, and extension activities are in progress towards ensuring sustainable aquaculture and achieving the other commitments. So, the major aquaculture species in the Philippines are classified as fishes, mollusks, crustaceans, echinoderms, and the seaweeds. Let us start with the commonly cultured fish species in the Philippines. As an archipelago, the Philippines is considered to have one of the highest per capita fish consumption in the world. However, the declination trend of capture fisheries calls for an intensified promotion of aquaculture activities on top potential areas for fish production. Fish farming has become a lucrative business until it evolved into more sophisticated technology-based systems for the culture of various species of fish, shrimps, mollusks, and seaweeds. So, an example of a commonly cultured fish species is a milkfish with a scientific name of Chanus chanus, or locally known as bangus. Milkfish farming has been and will remain the backbone of the Philippine aquaculture. Milkfish culture is the largest finfish aquaculture industry in the Philippines and continues to be a top aquaculture commodity primarily because it is easy to culture and can be grown in a wide range of environments. Milkfish thrives in freshwater, brackish water, marine, and even the hypersaline habitats. It was estimated that between 822 million and 1.6 billion milkfish are produced in the archipelago each year. Next is the Nile tilapia. Nile tilapia, or the Euchromis niloticus, is the most cultured freshwater fish in the Philippines. The tilapia industry in fact provides valuable income and an affordable source of animal protein for the growing population, including many of the 30 million people that FAO estimates depend on agriculture and fishing for a living. Between 334 million to 1.6 billion tilapia are produced in the archipelago each year. Next is the Mozambique tilapia, or the Euchromis mozambicus, also known as the Java tilapia. According to Guerrero, 1994, the Java tilapia was introduced into the Philippines from Thailand in 1950. It was not well accepted by consumers in the 1950s and 1960s due to its dark color, small size, and poor image. The O. mozambicus had the highest tolerance to salinity, followed by the hybrid red tilapia and O. niloticus. They are cultured in fresh and brackish water. Next is the tilapia zelly. It is a species of fish that has been introduced globally mainly for aquaculture purposes or as food fish. Red-bellied tilapia can be found in lakes, watercourses, wetlands, estuaries, and marine habitats, but it mostly occurs in fresh water and can occasionally be found in marine waters. The walking fish, or the Clarias batrachus. It is native to Southeast Asia. It is a black, slippery fish with mustache to aid it in swimming. The walking catfish is found in the muddy substrates of several water systems. This species can usually be found in freshwater, brackish water, and terrestrial environments. It is common in lowland bodies of water such as irrigation channels, lakes, rice fields, and wetlands. Next is the African catfish. The African catfish, also known as the new green fish, was considered to be the country's answer to food security. It is the best aquaculture species for urban aquaculture. It is a large fish, well accepted in the Philippines, and is easier to culture among many freshwater species, and stocking density per unit area can be extra high without any problem on diseases and low DO levels. Next is the big head catfish, or the native catfish. As of May 2021, the big head catfish, or the Clarias macrocephalus, one of the two catfish species native to the Philippines, was once a popular meal and is found in lakes, ponds, and rice fields across the country. Based on studies and anecdotal reports, it is now found only in Cagayan, Quezon, Palawan, Agusan del Sur, and Linguasan March. Next is the common carp, or the Cyprianuscarpio. In 1915, this species was brought from Hong Kong to Manila upon the suggestion of Alvin Ciel. This species has an outstanding performance in fresh water. They live in the middle and lower streams of rivers, in inundated areas, and in shallow confined waters, such as lakes, oxbox lakes, and water reservoir. Carp are mainly bottom dwellers but search for food in the middle and upper layers of the water body. We have also the big head carp. The big head carp is a species of freshwater fish, one of several Asian carps. It is one of the most intensively exploited fishes in aquaculture and considered to be an important species in aquaculture, having the fifth highest production of 7.5% of all cultured freshwater fish worldwide. Next is the climbing perch, or the Anabas testudineus. The climbing perch, or the Anabas testudineus, is a freshwater fish species commercially grown in Southeast Asian countries. Its salinity is freshwater, therefore it can be farmed in any freshwater system such as canals, lakes, ponds, swamps, and estuaries. This fish is an important food fish and has a high market value. We have also the grouper, most commonly known as lapu-lapu. The grouper, locally known as lapu-lapu, is a highly esteemed food fish in the Philippines. Grouper farming was identified as one of the potential business opportunities. Given the importance of grouper fisheries, groupers can be cultured in brackish water fish ponds and marine waters. We have also the giant gourami. The giant gourami is a large freshwater fish native to parts of India, Indonesia, Malaysia, and China. It is regarded as a highly esteemed table delicacy in many parts of Asia because of its superior taste and peculiar light yellow-colored flesh, which is easy to digest. The giant gourami can attain a weight of 0.7 to 1 kilo in an 8-month cultured period. Next is the plasalid, or the naked skin gourami. It is one of the 4 gouramis introduced to the Philippines from Thailand. In the Philippines, the gourami has been cultured in rice fields and freshwater ponds, usually with fingerlings from the wild and with other fish. It is also caught by fisherfolk in rivers and lakes where it has become established throughout the country. Although the fish is well accepted by local consumers, its production has not been commercialized because of the lack of fingerlings and culture technology. We have also the mudfish, or the moral snakehead fish. This is locally known as dalag. In the Philippines, the mudfish is commonly grown in the polyculture with other fish such as the common carp and Nile tilapia in ponds. Common in freshwater plains where it serves as the predator of the young fishes. It grows to a length of 0.5 meters, and after 6 months of culture, there are 4 to 5 fish per kilo. Being an air breather with its suprapharyngeal respiratory organ, it can live for hours out of water and survive under low dissolved oxygen conditions. Next is the goby, or the Glossogobius garius. The Glossogobius is a genus of gobies native to fresh, brackish, and marine waters from Africa to the coast of the western Pacific Oceans, including the Philippine waters. G. gyorius, based on numerical study, was found that feeds on animal as well as plant materials which composed of fish, insects, crustaceans, algae, and zooplankton. Next is the therapon or the Leopotherapon plambeus. It is a food fish species indigenous in Philippine freshwater habitats and increasingly an emerging and novel species for domestication. They are also very tiny and transparent. The ayungin comprises more than 70% of the total fish fauna in Laguna de Bay. The fish is omnivore with shrimps as its major food item. And lastly, we have the rabbit fish or the siganid. In the Philippines, certain species of siganids are either monocultured or polycultured with the milkfish. As siganid fry are very sensitive, they are not taken out of the water. Siganids, however, cannot tolerate low salinities and high temperature, so ponds where it was cultured should be close to the sea water sources.
Cultured crustacean species. A crustacean is an invertebrate with several pairs of jointed legs and 2 pairs of antennae. It is covered by tough exoskeleton with overlapping plates that thin out at the joints to allow maximum movement. Its body is divided into 2 main regions that are fused together. Most crustaceans live in water. The cultured crustacean species are the following: tiger prawn, Peneus monodon, also known as giant tiger prawn, black tiger shrimp, and Asian tiger shrimp. It is locally known as sugpo. It is still the most important cultured crustacean in the Philippines. Tiger prawns get their common name from the stripes that cover their shell. The species is a highly valuable seafood species and is targeted widely by commercial fishers throughout its range, and it is grown in aquaculture farms all over the world, cultured in both brackish and marine water. White shrimp, Peneus vanamae, also known as white-leg shrimp, Pacific white shrimp, and king prawn, locally known as pasayan or hipon. They are short-lived prawns with ranges that include the Gulf of Mexico and the eastern coast of the United States from Florida to New York. This species is the largest prawn in its range, reaching lengths of nearly 8 inches, and is one of the more highly sought seafood species wherever it lives. It is cultured in marine water and brackish water. Indo-Pacific swamp crab, Celia serrata. It is one of the mud crab species commonly found in the Philippines. Studies have already shown that the Celia serrata, or locally known as bulik, is the faster growing breed, and they are the only species that can grow bigger than 1 kilogram. They are cultured in brackish water. Giant freshwater prawn, Macrobrachium rosenbergi. It is locally known as ulang or pahi. It is the largest of its kind and is naturally found in river systems of the Philippines. Freshwater prawns immediately contrast from shrimps with their long claws that are up to twice their body length. They are cultured in fresh water. Greasy back shrimp, Metapeneus ensis. It is commonly called mud prawn, sand prawn, greasy back shrimp, or G-way shrimp in the catering trade. It is popular due to its rich-tasting, nutritious flesh. Characteristics of Metapeneus ensis include a wide distribution, strong adaptability, omnivorous feeding habit, fast growth, and high commercial value. Metapeneus ensis breeds in water or brackish water, but it can also be bred in fresh water after domestication. It is cultured in fresh and brackish water. Red lobster, Panoleros idolis. The adik-adik lobster reddish-colored back is its defining feature. This lobster is recognized by its characteristics reddish back. It is cultured in brackish water. Bamboo lobster, Panoleros versicolor. It is a species of lobster that lives in tropical reefs Other names include a multicolored rock lobster, bamboo lobster. The legs of bamboo lobsters have stripes resembling bamboo trunks. Bamboo lobsters are the most common, especially in the Philippines lobsters farming industry. It is cultured in brackish water. Lastly is the tiger lobster, Panolerus ornatus. It is known by a number of common names including tropical rock lobster, ornate rock lobster, ornate spiny lobster, and ornate tropical rock lobster. It is a large edible spiny lobster with 11 larval stages that has been successfully bred in captivity. Tiger lobsters are recognized by their spotted legs. Tiger lobsters are the most common, especially in the Philippines lobster farming industry, cultured in brackish water. Production. The shrimp production in the Philippines, as stated by Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, or BFAR, during the year 2019 was 62,252.68. Mud crab's volume of production in the Philippines is as stated by FOA during the year 2020 was 22.19 thousand metric tons.
So today I'm going to discuss about the mollusks and the cultured mollusk species. So, what is mollusk by the way? Mollusk is an invertebrate of a large phylum which includes snails, slugs, mussels, and octopuses. They have soft and segmented body and live in aquatic or damp habitats, and most kinds have an external calcareous shell. So, the cultured mollusk species. First is Crustaceans is one of the famous seafood. There are 20 known provinces in the Philippines with established growing areas for shellfish. It widely distributed in the Philippines. Although it is particularly abundant in certain localities, the entire coast serves as a natural habitat. Oyster and mussels farming takes place in open coastal waters. So, the scientific name is Crustaceans iridale, the English name is the sleeper sheep oyster, and the local name is talaba. Second, green mussel, locally known as tahong, is the only species of mussel being cultured commercially in the Philippines. A challenge that hinders the stability of mussel production is the insufficient supply of sea stock. Mussel farming is being done on a commercial scale in the Manila Bay, Bacoor Bay, Cavite, Japan Bay or Capiz, and Makeda Bay in Samar. So the scientific name is Perna viridis, the English name is Asian green mussel, and the local name is tahong. Third, abalone. Abalone's culture is an emerging aquaculture industry in the Philippines. The donkey ear abalone has strong culture potential because of its ability to mature and spawn throughout the year. Fast growth rates and high survival during grow-out in both land and sea-based culture system. So, the fourth, Canarium labiatum. Common name is the Samar conch. Is a species of sea snail, marine gastropod mollusk in the family Strombidae. The true conch, they are commonly cultured in marine water. So the scientific name is Canarium labiatum, and the English name is cricket conch, and the local name is aninical. So the fifth is squid. Squid are cephalopods in the superorder Decapodiforms with elongated bodies, large eyes, 8 arms, and 2 tentacles cultured in marine water. Scientific name is Tilapida. The English name is squid and the local name is bowfin. 6. The violet sea snail or Yantina yantina, also known as the bubble wrap snail, is a species of sea snail which has truly experienced life cycle cultured marine water. So the scientific name is Yantina yantina, the English name is violet sea snail, the local name is Udu. 7. Lotharia is a species of large marine bivalve mollusk in the family Noctuidae. Its common names include the otter shell and the common otter shell, cultured in marine water. Scientific name is Lotharia, English name otter shell, the local name is Bulaog. 8. The giant clams are the members of clam genus Verdeca. that are largest living bivalve mollusks, cultured in marine water. Scientific name is Tradina gigagas, English name is giant clam, and the local name is TACLOBAN. 9. Horse mussel. Horse mussel is a species of marine bivalve mollusk in the family Mytillidae. Scientific name is Modilus modulis, local name is Amahong, and the English name is the horse mussel. So, number 10, bee scallop. Bee scallop is marine bivalve mollusk in the family Pyxinidae, a species of scallop, cultured in marine water, and the scientific name is Argopiptin irradians. English name is bee scallop. And the last one is the common octopus. Octopus vulgaris is a mollusk belonging to class Cephalopoda. Octopus vulgaris is the most studied of all octopus species, cultured in marine water. The scientific name is Octopus vulgaris and the English name is octopus.
So now let's talk about the cultured seaweed species. Seaweeds are multicellular marine plants thriving particularly near the seabed. They are one of the benthic organisms found near or in marine sedimentary habitats. Some of the fundamental requirements for seaweeds to grow are a seawater habitat and light. Seaweeds are therefore the weeds in marine habitats because they tend to grow profusely similar to the weeds on land. Next is giant bladder kelp, any of about 30 genera of brown algae that grow as large coastal seaweeds in colder seas. Kelps provide critical habitat and are an important food source for a wide range of coastal organisms, including many fish and invertebrates. Until early in the 19th century, the ash of such seaweeds was an important source of potash and iodine. Next is Irish moss. It is a relatively small sea algae reaching up to a little more than 20 cm in length. It grows from a discoid, holdfast, and branches 4 or 5 times in a dichotomous, fan-like manner. The morphology is highly variable, especially the broadness of the tally. A species of reed algae which grows abundantly along the rocky parts of the Atlantic coast of Europe and North America. In its fresh condition, this protist is soft and cartilaginous, varying in color from a greenish yellow through red to a dark purple or purplish brown. Next is oarweed. Oarweed is a large brown kelp with a long hard stalk and a large oar-shaped front divided into ribbon-like strips growing on rocky shores. Any of several large brown algae, especially of the genus Laminaria, including some used as a source of iodine and other chemicals as fertilizer and sometimes as food. Next is Ceylon moss. Gracilaria is a genus of red algae, Rhodophyta, notable for its economic importance as an agarophyte as well as its use as food for humans and various species of shellfish. Various species within the genus are cultivated among Asia, South America, Africa, and Oceania. Gracilaria is used as a food in the Philippines. It is called gulaman and used to make gelatin. Next is green caviar. Green caviar or sea grapes is a species of Bryopsidae green algae from coastal regions in the Indo-Pacific. This seaweed is one of the favorite species of edible caulerpa due to its soft and succulent texture. It was first commercially cultivated in the Philippines. Next is bladder rock kelp. Bladder rock kelp is a type of brown algae seaweed that grows on the northern Atlantic and Pacific coast of the United States and on the northern Atlantic coast and Baltic coast of Europe. The main stem of bladder rock, known as the talus, is used medicinally. Next is Euchima. Scientific name, Euchima denticulatum, English name, Euchima, local name, buso. Euchima is a seaweed algae that may be brown, red, or green in color. Euchima species are used in the production of carrageenan, an ingredient for cosmetics, food processing, and industrial manufacturing, as well as a food source for people in the Philippines and parts of Indonesia and Malaysia. Euchima cottoni, cultivated in the Philippines. It is particularly species known as buso. Next is Capapicus. Capapicus is a genus of red algae. Species are distributed in the waters of East Africa, Indonesia, Malaysia, Hainan Island, the Philippines, and Micronesia. It is commonly known as morphologically plastic, with few visible characters that can be used to separate the taxa, so distinguishing the species can be difficult. In addition, many commercial varieties have been bred. Molecular analysis can be used in general. These algae have fleshy thalli that grow erect from one or more anchors. The longest individuals can exceed a meter in length. All species produce kapakariginan. Farming of this is a large business in the Philippines. Next is sea lettuce. Scientific name Olva lactuca, English name sea lettuce, local name lumot. Sea lettuce is bright green algae composed of lobed ruffle-edged leaves that are coarse and sheet-like and resemble a leaf of lettuce. The leaves may appear flat, thin, broad, and often rounded or oval. Its leaves are often perforated with holes of various sizes. Almost no stalk exists at the point of attachment, and no true roots are present. When dried by the sun, its color can range from white to black.
And now I'm going to topic the common cultured Echinoderm species here in Philippines. So now, let us know what is Echinoderm. So Echinoderm is any of variety invertebrate marine animals belonging to the phylum Echinodermata. So it's characterized by a hard, spiny covering or skin. The organisms belonging to the phylum Echinodermata are exclusively marine. Thus, they are found in depth seas well as the intertidal zones. Till date, there have been no traces of any terrestrial or freshwater Echinodermata. So, Echinoderms, mostly you can find it in marine waters. So now I'm going to mention the common cultured species here in Philippines. So, Pacific purple sea urchins are easily identifiable on the ocean floor because of their distinctive purple color. So they are covered in pincers, tube feet, and purple spines that move viable and sector joints using these spines to grab food and protect themselves from predators. The next is the Paracentrotus lividus. So Paracentrotus lividus is a dark purple, almost black, regular sea urchin found on western coast of Iceland and occasionally elsewhere. So the roes of these urchins are edible and are prized as a delicacy in Mediterranean countries. The next is the green sea urchin. So the green sea urchin are covered in short, sharp, movable spines that are shorter than the red urchins and more delicate than the purple urchins. This species can be pale gray or greenish tinge with purple or brown on their spines. So the next is the long spine sea urchin. So the long spine sea urchin is being a member of the regular sea. Is being a regular of a sea urchins. So Diadema situsum has an almost spherical, just slightly apically depressed body that lacks arms but still shows the 5-rayed radial symmetry of all echinoderms. A rigid endoskeleton known as the test made up of tightly interlocking plates encases all internal organs. The next is the lime urchin. So the lime urchins is Echinoderms. So it belongs in the class of Echinoderms, under which Diadema antillarum, that is the scientific name, are classified include sea urchins and sand dollars. Some shared physical characteristics of this class include the shape ranges from spherical to disc shape. Second is the skeletal plates join to form a rigid test under an independently movable spines. 5 radial areas with plates perforated for tube feet started in 1986. So life expectancy is approximately in 5 years for most species of class Echinoderms. The next species is the edible sea urchin. So the edible sea urchin they have the large and round with short, strong spines. So edible sea urchins, we can find it in the sea depths down to depths, which is 40 meters, and can occasionally be found in rock pools in a very low tide. So the edible sea urchin is a grazer, feasting on seaweeds, so bryozoans, barnacles, and anything that it can find. The next species is the red sea urchin. So the red sea urchin, it belongs to a group of marine invertebrates called Echinoderms, yes, which means spiny-skinned animals. So they are related to sea stars, sea cucumbers, and sand dollars. So they are related. Like their relatives, sea urchins do not have brain or heart. The next is the black sea cucumber. So the black sea cucumber is a black sea cucumber with black tentacles frequently covered with sun. It is a small to very large species, which is up to 600 millimeters. So fissiparous, cylindrical with rounded ends, a smooth tegument, and a pliable body wall. So toxic red fluid is released from the skin on rubbing. Sea cucumber. So green sea cucumber is a fairly large species, growing to about 25 centimeters or 10 inches, with a firm but pliable body and a squarish cross section. The skin is smooth, but there are numerous conical fleshy papillae in longitudinal rows, and there are larger on the lower lateral angles. The next is the collector urchin. So the collector urchin, one of the prettiest sea urchins. So it is which are commonly known as collector, cake, or persons that see urchins. Other common names include Halloween urchins, Hawaiian sea urchins, priest hut urchins, pincushion, or hairy sea urchins, and their names mainly come from their habit or collecting debris in their spines. So it may has many different color morphs that vary throughout the visible color spectrum. That the most morphs of all the 700 or so sea urchin species. So the next is the pineapple sea cucumber. So pineapple sea cucumber, it is a gray, orange to red sea cucumber, or often with a purple case. So it is a very large species. So it around to 600 or 750 millimeters. So square in cross section with prominent cross-comb, so papillae, over its upper surface. So it has a thick but pliable body and a smooth tegument, spicules or delicate dichotomously branched rods without lateral spines. So this species may be found on reefs exposed on rubble. The next is the burrowing urchins. So the burrowing urchins are roughly spherical in shape and exhibit pentamorous symmetry. So the urchin consists of the main body known as the test and is surrounded by spines extending outwards in all directions. So spines on the ventral or oral surface of the urchin are smaller in size and are parted in the centry where the feeding appendage occurs. And spines are similarly smaller on the arboreal surface where they give way to the anus. So for the production of this species, which is the belongings of echinoderms, we can see on the screen that from May 2020 to May 21, 2021, has data differences in their production.
So for the production, as what we can see in the aquaculture production by culture environment in the Republic of the Philippines, we can see in the photo is the production in the brackish water, the fresh water, and the marine water from year 1980 to year 2015. Next, we can see the production of the aquaculture based on the volume according to the statistics of the PSA. The total volume of the aquaculture in the Philippines during the year of 2020 came up with 2,322,905.57. So before I end this video, I just wanted everyone to know, or I just wanted to give insights to everyone about the aquaculture industry in the Philippines. So the future of aquaculture industry in the Philippines is bright, particularly in the marine areas where water quality is not yet heavily affected by the pollution. Many freshwater bodies in Mindanao can still be harnessed for aquaculture. Expansion of brackish water ponds is unlikely except in some areas in southern Mindanao where land and water are relatively inexpensive and pollution is not that too much of a problem. The thrust of government and industry must be to intensify the production in existing ponds through adoption of improved culture technologies, particularly for milkfish. Further success of aquaculture industry in the Philippines can only be assured if the problems and constraints facing the industry are resolved by research and appropriate technologies.